Hi boys and girls, it's Mrs. Sheely. I hope everybody's having a really good week, and I wanted to say way to go, good job on all of your assignments. I've been checking them online and you guys are doing amazing work, especially on that MobyMax website. I know that some of the tests can get a little long and kind of hard, but you're doing a good job, so just stick with it. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about science. So if you have your science book with you, we're going to open up to the page where you read yesterday. It was your Tuesday homework, and it's on page A28 and A29. If you don't have your science book, you can pause the video and go get it, and then come right back to us. So you had to read yesterday page A28 and A29, and this is a good picture of a diagram of a plant. So this is showing you a real plant and all of the plant parts. So you read about all the important parts yesterday, and then after that you got to focus on the roots of the plant, and those are a very important part of the plant for it to be able to grow. It's the very first thing that grows on a plant are the roots. And then today for homework you are going to read about some other plant parts. You're going to read about stems and leaves. So if you turn the page a couple times, you'll see the page about stems and leaves. So you're going to read that carefully. And then this is the page that shows you the different kinds of leaves that you're going to see on a plant. All right, so that's what your homework is going to be today. I want to just talk, you can read your science book and learn lots of facts about plants, but I just wanted to talk specifically about those plant parts a little bit more and make it a little bit more clear. So I printed up my own picture of a plant, and those parts that I just talked about are on this picture. So we're going to start here with this plant part, and if you can read the label or just look at the picture, you should know that these are the roots of the plant, and you read about them yesterday. The roots have two important jobs. So I want you to try to remember this. They have two important jobs. One job of the roots is to hold the plant into the ground. So I want you to think about, I don't know about what it was like at your house, but this weekend, especially on Sunday, it was super windy at my house. And I noticed that the plants weren't blowing all over the place in the wind, and that's because they had roots to hold them down into the ground. Okay, so trees, especially trees, have big, huge, heavy roots, and that keeps them in the ground, and it keeps them from blowing all over the place. Now, if it was a brand new tree, and it had just very weak roots that weren't very big yet, if it had a big enough windstorm, like a tornado windstorm, a plant might be lifted right out of the ground because those roots weren't strong enough to hold it down. But most roots are strong enough to keep that plant in the ground. That's the first job of the root. The second job of the root is to drink all the water that the plant needs. Because underground, under the soil, is where a lot of the water is. If you've ever noticed, like if you were digging for worms, maybe this weekend after it rained, you might have seen that there were a lot of worms around. And if you were digging for them, you will notice that the ground is usually really wet underneath. And that's because there's a lot of water underground. So the plant needs water to live. You read that days ago, that one of the things that plants need to live is water. So the roots get all of that water out of the ground and drink it up into the plant because the rest of the plant needs that water to survive. So the two jobs of the roots: one, to hold the plant in place to keep it from blowing away; two, to drink up all the water. Okay, so that is the two important jobs of the roots. Today you're going to read more about the job of this part of the plant. And if you look at the label, where is it? The label is over here, yes. The label of this part is the stem. So this stem is the next part of the plant that grows, and it also has two jobs. So the first job of the stem is to keep the plant standing straight. Okay, if a plant didn't have a stem, it would be really floppy. So you kind of can think of a stem as a backbone. Like you have a backbone and it keeps you from being really floppy. So the stem is the backbone of the plant. It keeps it from being really floppy. So that's the first job of the stem. The second job of the stem, it kind of acts like a straw, and it drinks up all the water and brings it to all of the other parts of the plant. Okay? Now, besides just drinking the water up, it also brings food down to the roots. So plants don't eat food like people do. Like if a plant's hungry, it's not going to get pizza or anything like that. Okay? The plants actually make their own food, and we're going to talk more about that when we learn about the leaves. So, but what the stem does though is it takes the food that the leaves are making and it brings it down to the rest of the plant. So the stem acts as a straw to drink the water up and bring the food down. Okay, so that's the two jobs of the stem. One is to keep it straight, keep it from being floppy. And two, it transports all of the food and the water that the plant needs, kind of like an elevator. The water goes up, the food goes down. Okay? The third part of our plant are the leaves, and there are leaves all over this plant here. You can see the label. So the leaves are super important for the plant, and the leaves are where magic happens because the leaves help turn the sunlight that the plant needs to survive. It turns the sunlight into the food that the plant needs, and it's very complicated. So all we're going to really learn about in first grade is that it's like magic. It's able to take all of that sunshine, and it takes that sunshine and does some magic in the leaves, and it makes it into food for the plant. So then the food comes from the leaves and then goes down the stem to all the other plant parts. Okay, so really the leaf only has one job, but it's super important. That's why it only has one job, because it's very important. And it's where the magic takes place. It's where the food is made for the whole plant. Okay? And the other parts that we're going to learn about, and you'll either read that later this week or next week, you're going to learn about the flowers and the fruit of your plant. Now, not all plants will you see bright flowers or see fruit. But on this diagram, we're going to talk about these specific parts. What will grow first are the flowers. The flowers will come before the fruit. Now, the flowers are important, and you're going to read that later in your book about how the flowers are really bright, and they attract birds and bees and insects, and they will, the flowers need those, or the plants need those, so they can reproduce and grow other plants. So a bee might come and get some of the pollen and get some seeds, and then as it flies to another plant, it's able to make new plants when it goes to the other plant. So the flowers are the bright, attractive part of a plant. Okay? Now the fruit is what develops after the flower. So the flower sometimes grows into a fruit, and we know that that's an important part of a plant because we can eat that part of a plant. Okay, so for example, if this was, it kind of looks like a cherry or a tomato plant, like cherry tomatoes. So we could actually eat this part of the plant. Okay, but the other really important part, the other really important job of the fruit is it holds the seeds. And the seeds are what grows new plants. Okay, so the fruit is very important because it's the seed holder. Okay, so those are the main parts of the plant that you're going to continue to read about in your science book. Try to remember that I made this video because next week you're going to have a writing assignment where you need to write about the jobs of the plants, okay? Or the jobs of the plant parts. So if you get stuck and you're like, oh, I forget what the job of the stem is, you can come back to this video and you can watch it and remember that the stem has two important parts, right? So I'm going to go over them one more time quickly, just so they're fresh in your head. And then, like I said, you can always watch this video again if you're not sure. So the parts or the jobs of the root, two jobs for the roots. One is to hold the plant in place to keep it from blowing around in the wind. Two, it drinks up all the water for the plant. The stem has two jobs. One is to keep it straight, keep it from flopping over. And two, it helps transport the water and the food. Okay, so the water goes up to the rest of the plants, the food goes down to the rest of the plant. The leaves, you. Remember, how many jobs do the leaves have? Just one. Just one, because it's a really important job. It's where the food gets made for the plant. And then the flowers are the fancy, bright part of the plant. Okay, that makes the plant look really pretty. And finally, the fruit. And the fruit is a very important part of the plant because it's the seed holder. It holds the seeds for the plant. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. And again, please play it again if you have some confusion, if you can't remember all of the different jobs of the plant. And I will hopefully see you guys soon, and keep working hard and doing your best. Thanks.